setup and maintenance. I'm Cody with PHP Squamalt. Welcome. Today we'll be going over some basic bike setup, some pre-ride inspection, and some bike maintenance. So before we get started, let's look at a few tools you'll need. You'll need a Phillips head screwdriver, a set of hex keys or Allen keys, metric, and a 15mm open-ended wrench. You'll also need a pump, whether it's a floor pump or hand pump. So for setup, we'll be looking at your saddle height, your handlebars, and your controls. We'll do this to maximize your efficiency and comfort while riding. So first, let's look at saddle height. So we want to make sure your saddle height is the right height for you to maximize your power you can get from your legs. As you can see, there's a clamp at the bottom of your saddle or seat tube. There's two different types. This one here, you use a hex key, while some have a quick release clamp. If you have a hex key, you want to put that in, turn it lefty-loosey to adjust. It should be moved nice and freely. From here, we're going to raise the saddle up to the top of our hip bones. This will give us a good base level to start with. Once you have it there, make sure it's in line with the top tube of your frame, and then tighten it down just so it's nice and snug. So now that you have it at that height, let's check to make sure it's the right height for you. So jump on your bike, take a seat on the saddle, and place your heel on the pedal. With your heel on the pedal, you should have a straight line or a straight leg. That way, when you move your foot into the proper position with the ball of your foot on the pedal, there should be a slight bend in the knee. So it's important to have the right height of your saddle, because if your seat's too low, your knees are going to be up into your chest and not creating enough power. It's going to put a lot of strain on your quads and a lot less efficient way to do it. Also, if your seat's too high, you're going to be stretching for the pedals, and it's going to be awkward and might cause you to fall off balance. So now that we got the height set, we also want to make sure the position of the saddle forward and back is in the proper position. The proper position will let your knee be straight over the axle of the pedal when the pedal is parallel to the ground. So to do this, there's two bolts underneath the saddle. You'll loosen those, and then you can adjust it forward or back. So now that we have our saddle in the correct position, let's look at our handlebars. As you can see, I've switched over to a mountain bike which has a straight bar. They use a lot more common type of bar. We'll look at the proper position for this. To start, let's look at our brake levers and their position. With your hand on the grip, place one or two fingers onto the brake lever, and the brake should be in a position that creates a straight line from your finger all the way up to your shoulder. This creates a strong stacked wrist, which provides maximum stability when cycling. So a couple of things to keep in mind. We don't want our brake levers to be too high, because they could put unwanted tension onto our wrist, which will cause some discomfort during long rides. Also, if our brake lever is too low, they could put a lot of strain on the wrist and thumb as well. So we want, again, to have the brake levers in a position where your wrist is stacked and like a straight line from your finger up to your shoulder. So you don't want to tighten the shifter or breaker too much. You want it to be a nice snug fit, but not over snug. That way, in the event of a crash, the lever or the shifter will move out of the way instead of braking. Now that we have the setup done, it's almost time to get out on the road. But first, let's start with the ABCs of biking. stands for air, B stands for brake, and C for chain. We'll start with air, so we want to make sure our tires are pumped up to the proper pressure to allow for a more efficient ride. To find the right pressure for your tires, take a look along the side wall of your tire. There should be imprinted on the side. It will usually give a range for pressures. Higher pressure will be a bit more efficient ride, while lower pressure will be a bit more comfortable. Next, we need to know what type of valve your bike needs. There's two main types. There's the older style, which is called Schrader, which is what cars have, and then the Presta valve, which is a lot more new bikes have. The next step then is to grab your pump and inflate your tire to the right pressure. Most pumps these days will have a setting for either type of valve, but make sure you have the proper one. Also, a lot of floor pumps will have a pressure gauge, will make it a lot easier for you to get to the right pressure. But if not, you can always use a hand check. If you have a wider tire, like a mountain bike tire, you should be able to press the tire in slightly with your thumb. While on a road bike or a skinnier tire, it should be quite firm. The next step is B for brakes. So we want to make sure your brakes are in good working order so you can maintain control and brake in the case of emergencies. Do you see anything wrong with this brake I have here? Correct. It's too loosey-goosey. Let's fix that. If you're able to pull your brake lever all the way to the handlebar, like I can do here, we can fix that. Simply by turning the adjuster knob on the end of the brake lever out. This tightens the cable and provides more bite on the brake. So if you've reached the maximum you can on the brake lever, look at the caliper of your brake and use the adjuster knob on there. If that still didn't provide enough tension, reset them back to the lowest they can, unscrew the bolt holding the cable of the brake, pull the cable tight, and then reset the bolt. Try again after that. Finally, we're looking at C for chain. We want to make sure the chain and the gears are all in good working order. We have an efficient, smooth ride. We also want to make sure your gears are shifting smoothly and properly to give you a clean, efficient ride. If your chain is skipping or grinding or making any kind of funny noise while you're trying to shift, the simple adjustment we can make to help fix that. So on most new bikes, the cable which controls the derailleur will tend to stretch. It's bound to happen for everyone. So to help alleviate the problem, use the adjuster knob either on the shifter or on the derailleur itself. Turn it counterclockwise, quarter turn at a time, until you get a clean, smooth shift. If your bike is having trouble shifting down in the gears, your cable is too tight. In that case, turn the adjuster knob again clockwise, a quarter turn at a time, until it shifts smoothly. Now that we have the ABCs done, it's time to get out there and ride. But guess what? You got a flat tire. No one knows how it happened, but it's bound to happen. I'm here to show you how to change that tube. Welcome to the next section, bike maintenance. So to start, you might need a few tools for this. One that'll make your life easier is tire levers. You can get these in either metal or plastic. Plastic will be a little bit more friendly on your rims. Depending on your bike, you might have a quick release for your wheels, which comes in handy. But if not, you might need a certain open-ended wrench or hex key. So I'll be demonstrating how to remove your back wheel, because this is the harder one. Front tire is much easier to remove. To start, we're going to downshift to your lowest gear. From there, you'll either undo the bolt or wrench, or the quick release, unscrew it slightly, or all the way if your bike requires it. Pull the derailleur hanger out of the way and dropping your tire wheel off. As easy as that. Now your back wheel is removed. So now that you got the wheel off, we're gonna remove the cap, undo the core, and empty out any remaining air from the wheel. Once all the air is removed, you can grab your tire levers, stick them in under the tire, and pull the bead out of the rim. Then you can work your way around until half the tire is off the one half of the rim. From there, find where the stem of your valve is. Pull the old tube out and remove the tube. Now check to make sure with your hand on the inside of the tire that there's nothing sharp that will cause a second puncture. You can also check the inside of the rim for the same thing. So next, grab your new tube. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to be using the same tube because it was still good. We want to inflate it slightly, which will make it easier for us to install it. So grab your pump, insert the valve, and just inflate it a little bit, 1 or 2 pumps. Next, grab your wheel again. Find the hole in the rim for the valve. And push the valve up and then through the hole in the rim. Once that's through, push your tube back into the tire. All the way around. And then push the bead of the tire back into the rim. I like to work my way around with both hands at the same time. And once you get close together, it might be a little trickier, so you might need your levers to put it back. Now make sure you find the stem and make sure it's coming out at a straight angle and not off to on an angle or anything at all. Grab your pump. And reinflate the tire. So now that your tire is pumped up, make sure you screw the valve core back in if you have a Presta valve. Put on the cap and we can reinstall the tire. Grab your tire, make sure you have it on the right side. Push the derailleur down, hooking the chain onto the bottom gear of your cassette, and pull the tire into place, or the wheel into place. Next, tighten up the axle again. And finally, if you have a quick release, close that up. And there you go, you've changed a tire. Next we're going to look at lubing the chain, which will help prevent wear on our drivetrain and create a smooth and efficient shift. To start, it's always best to lube a chain when it's clean and dry. So give your chain a quick wash and dry it off, and then we can start. Any bike shop will carry a selection of lube. Go with what they recommend for your conditions. To start, I like to start on our master link, which is just so you know when you've done the full chain. Most chains will have this, and it's just a special connection point that makes it easier to connect. From there, we're going to put 1 drop of lube on each roller of the chain. It's a bit of a tedious process, but it's worth it. Once you reach the end, you can cycle through and work your way around the full chain. If you like a little bit speedier process, you can actually keep the bottle squeezed and cycle through until you've reached all the way around. Once you've reached back to your master link, give your bike a few pedal strokes just so the lube can work its way into each roller. Once you've done that, grab a rag or paper towel, and we're going to wipe off any excess lube. Any excess lube will collect unnecessary dirt and grime in there and cause your chain to creak and inefficient shifts. Once you've done that, you've got a lubed chain. Bike is a fast bike, so let's look at how we can clean it. A few things you'll need: some bike wash, a variety of rags and brushes. You'll also need a hose, but if you don't have one, no problem. You can also use a water bottle. First step to washing your bike is giving it a spray. This will help loosen up any of the dirt. Next, we'll grab our cleaner and give the whole bike a spray down. Now that you've got your bike sprayed down, it's time to wait 5 minutes to let the cleaner do its work. So now that it's been 5 minutes, grab a rag or a soft bristle brush and we'll give the whole bike a wipe down. Next step, we'll give the bike a rinse. Now let that bike dry and enjoy that sparkling clean ride.
Whether you're commuting or just out for a ride, it's always good to have a few things with you. I like to carry a multi-tool that has a few hex keys, screwdrivers, and a chain link. Also, I like to carry a spare tube, a pump, and a 15 mil open-ended wrench, either a full-size one or a stub. In the case of a mechanical, these simple things should get you back up and running. Riding can be tough on the bike, so it's always good to do a more thorough check every few days to make sure everything is safe. This is called an M check. The M check is a more thorough check over the whole bike, making sure it's all safe. To start, we're going to start at the front axle, move your way up to the handlebars, down to the bottom bracket, up to the seat, and down to the rear axle. This creates an M shape, hence why it's called the M check. Start the M check. We're going to start at the front axle. We want to make sure this is secure. So grabbing hold of the quick release, making sure that it's nice and tight and the wheel's not going to fall off. If you have a bolt or a nut holding it on, make sure that is firmly on there and not going to fall off. From there, you're going to feel each spoke squeezing the pairs together, making sure they're all nice and tight. If you have any loose ones, this is unaligned or rim, which is not good for riding. Make your way around the whole wheel, making sure both sides are tight. Next, we want to make sure the brakes are secured well. So if you have disc brakes, make sure the caliper is not loose at all, and if bolt on the stem, the top cap, and the stem holding the handlebars in place. To tighten the bolts on the stem, we want to tighten the nut on the top cap first. It should be just snug and not over tight, or else the handlebars will have a ratcheting feel to them, which will put extra pressure on the bearing. So just lightly firm, check that one first, then switch over and check the one holding the stem onto the bike. These should be nice and snug and tight. Give those a quick wrench, making sure those are tight. Next, we can check the one going front of the stem. These ones hold the handlebars in place. To do this, start in one corner. If you have 4 bolts, give each one a tight cross over to the opposite corner, and up, and finally the last one. These should be fairly snug. We don't want the handlebar moving at all. Next, you can make sure your brake levers are secure and shifters are secure in there. Tighten them as necessary. As you finish checking the handlebar, the final thing, we want to take a look at all the cable housings, make sure that they look nice and there's no excessive wear on them. Once you've done that, we're going to move our way down the bottom down tube of the bike, making sure there's no wear or cracks in the frame at all. Check all underneath, and we'll get down to the bottom rack. With this, we want to look over all the gears in our chainring, make sure there's no wear or bent teeth. So you can go all the way around, make sure that's all good. Tighten if you have a front derailleur, make sure that's secure in place. Next, we can check our pedals. This is where the 15 mil open-ended wrench comes into play. Check the pedals. So we'll start on the right side. The right one is a regular threaded pedal. So bring your pedal to the front position, place the wrench towards the front wheel and press down. This should be nice and tight. Tighten that up nicely, then switch to the other side. Now the left pedal is reverse threaded. So we're going to do basically the same thing. Pedals out front, put your wrench towards the front wheel and also press down. Make sure that one is tight. Once that's good, you're ready to move on up towards the seat. Make sure if you have a bolt securing your seat, make sure that's nice and tight. If you have a quick release, make sure that's tight. You don't want the seat moving up or down. Next, you can check the bolts underneath the seat. Make sure those are secure as well. Finally, from there, we're going to move down to the rear axle. Again, we're going to check all the spokes on our rear wheel. Make sure those are all nice and tight. And make sure you check both sides. Next, we'll take a look at our rear cassette, making sure that there's no bent or broken teeth. Go all the way around, checking each gear. Next, we're going to check the rear axle, make sure that's nice and secure and nice and tight. We don't want this to fall out or shifting around on us, which will cause unnecessary wear or possibly a track. So make sure that's nice and tight. Check the cable leading to the rear derailleur. Make sure that's in good working order and not worn. Check to make sure your derailleur is secure to the bike. Sometimes with the rattling of riding, that can come loose. So grab your multi-tool again and just double check, make sure that's secure. Finally, we're going to look on the left side for the brakes. Again, we want to make sure this is secure to the bike. So check both bolts, make sure that they're tight. And if you have ring brakes, check those as well. They'll be located up here. Wonderful.
That's all